Washington state hospitals are at capacity. We have an outside mask mandate, and we're going to cover it today. Unemployment's run out, federal unemployment helps run out, the housing crisis is people are going to be, evicted for not being able to pay rent. And, the pandemic rolls on, but it was supposed to be over, and the government, has sort of acted like has been over. But and then again, Biden this week or yesterday came out with a real strong plan. So we might cover some of that if you know more about it than I do. I still have to learn about the details there. So yeah, Idaho has had to turn people away. They've had to go into like an emergency care situation where, some people are not getting the care they really need. And, this comes back to people not wanting to put a piece of cloth on their face and, or get a vaccine when they're perfectly willing to go to the doctor for any other reason, or take any other kind of vaccination. I mean, babies, when they're born, they get like 7 or 8. I can remember, being in the military,
Yeah.
and in boot camp, and you go through a line and you walk through basically a doorway, and these two guys coming at you from each
Yeah.
side, and they have these hydraulic air driven guns, and they put them one on each shoulder, and they press the button, and you get about air injection of about 6 different vaccines at once. And some of those you don't get to ask. Your government property. And
Yeah.
so yeah, so it's really disappointing that medical ignorance is continuing to blossom across America, and consequently people are not getting care in hospitals that they would otherwise get.
Yeah. And
So we had to cover that.
I think there should be some openness to people's decision regarding whether they do want a vaccine or not. But the level of vitriol and really like conspiracy surrounding this whole thing is just outstanding. I've been sent this video by a friend who's um, originally been a Bernie supporter. I think they became like a Trump supporter at some point, and um, I've received this video, and this guy was making the comparison between Kristallnacht and the Nazis and the Biden administration announcing of the vaccine requirements, or the basically the demand to have federal workers vaccinated, and have large private companies that deal with like if you deal with crowds and stuff, they would fine these companies unless their employees are made to either test on a regular basis or have a vaccine for the safety of the public. And so that was they compared this whole thing to the Nazis, which I found extremely in this it's just completely incomparable. But that's the kind of atmosphere, the kind of thing that's going on in
Well,
the
a
public.
while ago I would hear something like that and I would and move on. But these days I want to say, oh, really? I want you to explain that. Exactly what do you mean? Let's dig into this and see how long they want to talk about it.
And there's a
So yeah,
certain
it's a pretty poor analogy.
and there's a certain compound that we or medication that we will not name here, but something that is originally being developed for treating treating livestock. And I wish the people who are accusing everybody of being sheepy sheeple would stop taking livestock medication. But that is the situation. It's been like promoted beyond its scientific use. There is possibly some use for that medication, but people have elevated it to like a miracle drug, which it is
Serious
not.
studies are not showing that it's having
They do
an
not.
effect.
They show
Plenty of
perhaps there is a certain
evidence. Anecdotal evidence is, there, but
right.
as far as serious studies, no. The serious
No,
studies say no.
the serious studies show that there may be some benefits, but definitely it's not a replacement for a vaccine. And even if we had something that was very effective, that would still not be a replacement for a vaccine, because it would just treat the symptoms. It would still allow for the virus to keep propagating through the public, and would open it up to mutate further and create even more deadly strains. So that would not be instead of vaccine. It would be in addition. And it's hopefully going to happen at some point where we can manage the symptoms to the point where it's an inconvenience, such as the flu, and we keep taking like a yearly flu, combined flu and
Yeah,
yeah.
it's dangerous to compare it to the flu, but there is a point there. And one point of it is that it does resemble the flu in one way, and that is the flu is always mutating. And that's why we can't have one flu vaccine. We have to have one every year. And the way it is, COVID's kind of working out to be the same way, but everybody's acting like it's different. I don't get it. It's almost working in terms of how the vaccine protects you. It's almost an identical situation. You're going to have to get something that's going to have to respond to the new variants. And that's just the way it is. One thing that we talked about last week, I wanted to be clarify and repeat, is that since you do get natural immunity from the disease, having the disease ought to be enough to get you like a passport, or to be able to work without having to have vaccine. But having the vaccine actually does give you the best protection, because the Israeli study that was released about a week ago or so is showing that if you have had COVID and you get the vaccine, you're twice as protected from getting it again. So make your own decision there. And certainly, yeah, like I say, if you've had the disease, I wouldn't say you should be required to get a vaccine, nor I should say, and I won't say you should be required anyway, but then you have to follow the rules, such as not being able to work and stuff like that. So,
or be tested on an ongoing basis, which doesn't
right,
quite resolve the issue, but
you're going to have to follow the rules that you've chosen to be responsible with, by making your decision. Either way, either decision you make, you're going to have to be comfortable with the consequences. And that's
right.
I'm sure what people don't really want to hear, but that's the way it is.
Yeah.